Well, hello, and I hope you're having a good week. This is Kathy Vanden Heuvel, and I wanted to jump on. I'm going to try to consistently jump on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or at least get you a video so that you can go ahead and do that. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about self-doubt. I want to talk a little bit about perseverance and motivation in maybe just about 10 minutes or so and get this all in. If you get my email and you're on my email list, you would have already received this story, but I'll elaborate a little bit more. So even if you did get the email, you would get a little bit more out of this. But if you haven't, hey, jump on and hit your name in the comments below, or drop me a private message or a direct message and tell me that you want to subscribe to my email list, because I would love to have you. I serve women that are going through difficult journeys, most importantly, caregiving for somebody, and they're working their normal career and job and hustle and bustle and all of that, and so and they're dealing with all of the challenges beside. But today's analogy is going back to when I was 40, and that's a little while ago. Trust me, it's been a while. But when I was in my 40s, I was up for a new challenge. And I don't know when the calling came or exactly how it came about, but I know at that time my kids were all growing. Some of them, I have 3 boys. Some of them were out of the house. James is the last one, or I call him Jamie. He was, getting to the point where he was ready to move on his own and stuff like that. And I was finally ready to focus in on myself a little bit more. And I decided to focus on my health physically and decided to try the journey of running. I never was a runner. I never, ever, even did it before, not even in school or anything. But what I did is I did the research and began. I watched YouTube videos, I looked at different training programs and just looked at everything. So what I did is I bought my running shoes. I signed up for my first 5K so that I would have a goal, and I created a training plan. I remember the first day of trying to run. I could barely run to the end of the block. Seriously, I thought I was going to flip and die. I thought I was going to die. But eventually, I got farther and farther. And I remember the day that I ran around the block and I didn't have to stop. And I was like, yes, I made it. I can do this. And then came a mile. Then came more miles. I was super surprised too, and I wasn't expecting this. I was super excited because I felt energized. I felt a sense of motivation. I had this training plan that I put on my refrigerator, and I was highlighting it, and I loved when I could go ahead and I would do like Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. I did 2 days during the week and 1 long run on the weekend. And I was super excited for it. But I was kind of shocked. And in my email, I wrote, where was it? I'm looking at my notes. In my email, I wrote, I listened to the critics and self-doubt creeped in. And what I'm trying to say is I was surprised at family and friends could sense my excitement. They could do that, but I wasn't prepared for the critics. I wasn't prepared. You may call them haters. You may call them, just naysayers, negative people. Don't get me wrong. My husband and my kids were very supportive. Maybe they thought I was super crazy, but they were supportive. But I was shocked at how people responded. And if I went to therapy right now, the people that I thought would be supportive of me said things to me that just blew me away. It just blew me away. they would say things like, why would you want to do that? I could think of better things to do. And they would make comments to me personally and publicly that just really threw me for a loop. I had a manager at my business say, what's wrong with you? Why are you running? Something must be wrong with you. And I'm thinking, there wasn't anything wrong with me. Um, and I would get people to say, well, think of me when I'm laying in bed when you're up so early sweating. I'm still sleeping in. And I would get people to say, I could do better things than that. I had to find ways to overcome that. The comments really hurt me because I was so passionate about it. I was so excited about it. I was so driven. But I turned those into fuel. I turned those into pushing myself even further. And if you don't know me personally, I'm really feisty. I love to go ahead and just get out there. I'm not as much competitive as I am feisty. I take something seriously, and if somebody doesn't agree with it, and I truly agree with it, I won't lash back at them. I will just go ahead and use that as internal motivation. So I accomplished my first 5K, and then I ran a 10K, which was really cool. And then eventually I ran my first half marathon. I still have it to this day. Here is my medal. I was not first. I was not last, but I have to laugh because I was a turtle. I was passed up by a speed walker at the very end. But I consistently did it. And that's what was so impressive for me. I can say I ran my first half marathon. Then my second half marathon was this picture. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's in my email list. That was the Cellcom marathon in Green Bay. And it was like 80, 90 degrees. It was hotter than hot. And I got to 7 miles and I felt like, wow, this is great. Half marathon is 13.1 miles. But I remember like the last mile, when you get to run through the stadium in the last like quarter, the Green Bay Packers stadium. So that was good. But the last mile, somebody said to me, you got this, girl. You're going to do it. You're almost there. And I looked at her and I'm like, do you know a mile doesn't mean almost there? And I just blew up on this lady. It was almost like a woman delivering a baby. You say things that you don't know you're going to say. But to make a long story short, I eventually ran 9 half marathons. I did not count how many 5Ks and and 10Ks I ran, but I did 9 marathons before the age of 54. So within just a 10-year time span, it was really a great goal for me, and I totally enjoyed the training piece. I was actually really sad when the race came because I knew that I would have to think of another training plan to do. But when you do what's best for you, no one, not everyone will understand. You will understand what's best for you. You will know what drives you. I felt the best I felt in years. That time training gave me time to think, time to nourish my mental well-being, helped me physically, really. What I want to say though is, friends, or my friend that I'm talking to you, doing what's best for you takes courage. It takes confidence. Doing what others expect may not be good for you. And so I'll twist it around into now my caregiving platform that I do my business on. When my husband Dennis became sick and started his cancer journey, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had my job. I had my business. I had my, and I was training for my last half marathon at that time. I also was taking care of my dad. And I had all things at home to do and all things to manage. Truth is, I couldn't do everything. I had to find my new normal. I took some figuring out, it took me some figuring out with meeting with some mentors, meeting with some friends, and soul searching. But what was really cool is I could take the concept that I learned in running and I used that. When I was running, I put that as one of my top priorities. I focused on me. I focused on me. And when you think about when you're caregiving and you have all this stuff on your plate, it's hard to focus. Oops, that was my little medallion that I won. Um, but what I didn't do well when all of this stuff happened with my dad and my husband and walking into this new cancer caregiving journey, I didn't research anything. I didn't look at anything like I did when I was training for my marathons. I Googled and I searched and I mapped out my plan. And so if I could go back in time when that all happened, I wish I would have did that with caregiving. I wish I would have went ahead and Googled and researched and looked for videos to watch and mapped out a plan and all of that kind of stuff. Because if you think about it, to run a half marathon, you need to create a training plan. You need to eat well. You need to go ahead and learn new skills. You need to schedule rest days. And when it comes to your new normal or your existing normal now as being a caregiver, plus, 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 I'm talking about all those extra things that you do as well. You need to go back and map it all out and figure out what can I do? What can I go ahead and move? Because I shifted some things because when I was training for a half marathon, I had to say no to things. I couldn't go out in the evening knowing that I had to get up at 5 a.m. I had to eat really well because I knew I had to sustain my energy, drink really well. Um, and I went ahead and scheduled things on days that I wasn't running so that I could go ahead and do extra things that way. Same applies for you as a caregiver. What are your healthy habits? How do you sustain? How do you run that caregiving half marathon successfully? So you want to determine your own schedule, find your own coaches, find your own cheerleaders. It's funny because when I trained when I was training on my long runs, Dennis would meet me or he would bike alongside of me with water. He knew the importance of my water. And so who can you get to help you in your caregiving journey that's going to be there for you when you know that? So don't let the critics get to you. Think about how you can run your marathon of caregiving and make it a better journey for you so that you can be proud and pick up your imaginary medal and saying, I did the best I could. I may have not did it perfectly like this one. I may have yelled at people like I did in my second one. I may have been passed up by somebody, and people may criticize you for going ahead and doing your journey the way you want to do your journey. But it's all about you. Have a good day, everybody. Love ya. Bye now.